Released November 17th, 2021 by developer and publisher Carbon Studio, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Tempestfall, set in the Age of Sigmar universe, is a truly immersive and overall grand experience, even for those who know nothing about Warhammer lore. Thanks to the publisher for the review key.
This map shows Dredheim as it was before the Necroquake. Needless to say, it is no longer accurate.
Tempestfall begins after a Necroquake ravaged Shyish in the realm of death.
Just how deep does the corruption run in this place?
This quake, a huge explosion of dark magic, has caused the Night Haunt to rise in the mortal realm. Now the Stormcast Eternals, a team of demigods, have been sent in to recover your fallen allies' lost souls and set things straight.
Lord Arcanum!
You are Lord Arcanum Castor Stormcrier, who will lead this army through Shyish, investigate this newly emerged threat, and ultimately destroy Tempestfall.
There. The Panopticon on Glittering Marsh, is it? How fitting.
Although I'm new to the Warhammer universe, I still found the story quite interesting and entertaining. It was also well delivered by a not-so-perfect combination of factors.
I'm going to the city catacombs. It's the only place where I can risk destroying the hourglass.
The audio was great for most part. The voice acting was top tier, AAA standard, and although the overly poetic style dialogue isn't something I'd expect to hear in the real world, it was well done and certainly helped propel this odd story.
Foul sorcery won't plague this place anymore. Any trouble on the way here?
The score was also masterfully composed, helped bring and keep me in this fictional world of Tempestfall. The sound effects and ambiance sounds were also of that esteemed AAA quality. The only flaw I found with the entire sound design was constant audio lag. Sometimes, where there was no combat, I'd hear the sounds of clanking metal. Sometimes I'd hear these sounds after a collision, among other audio oddities, but for most part, the sound was on point. The visuals here are breathtaking. Now, not breathtaking in a sunny skies and rainbows kind of way, but breathtaking nonetheless.
Sand hourglass with a Sigmarite frame. Not curious.
There are enough graphic options here to suit just about every kind of player with just about any kind of rig starting from the minimum requirements, meaning, in order to play this on a PC, your PC has to already be VR ready, and once it is, there's probably a setting here that will get you by just fine. Walking through Shyish, through the Glittering Marsh, through these catacombs, sewers, there were times where I had to stop and take a moment to stare in awe at what I was seeing. Now, as with the audio, there are low points with the visuals. I experienced many visual glitches. I had to wait sometimes for textures and even entire areas to load. I had many tracking issues, none of which were game-breaking, however.
Not quite how I remember it.
I must commend these devs, though, for the attention paid to detail. Your character, the NPCs, the enemies, items in the environment. Carbon Studio did an admirable job for an indie studio.
In the name of Sigmar!
Here's where things may get a bit divisive. Not for me, as I found way too much to love in Tempestfall to allow some shortcomings to serve as a deterrent. But this may rub some the wrong way. The gameplay. Tempestfall would be best described as an action-adventure game with light RPG elements and puzzles, if you can even call them that.
The mechanism is missing a gear.
You're able to attack using melee or magic. The melee, however, isn't that great. After getting used to it, I was able to adapt, but it still felt off. There are collision detection issues at play here. When you make contact with an enemy or an enemy's weapon, it doesn't feel right. It feels like you're just swinging at air. When I first saw this game, the first thing that came to mind was Until You Fall. The way your weapons look, the way they spawn in your palms. But that's about it for the similarities. In Until You Fall, when you block or counter an attack, it feels like there is some weight to it, even without the use of any haptic feedback devices. It still felt like collision was being detected. It really feels weightless and much like desperate flailing. But like I said, after a while, I did get used to it and found myself not trying too hard in melee fights. I just lightly swung about, especially at the skeletons. The meat of the combat, however, are the gesture-based magic abilities you wield. I found using these motion-activated spells to be the proper way of dispatching the opposition. Some may say Tempestfall is an easy game where combat is concerned, and they would be right. Tempestfall is an overall really easy game, where I expired only a handful of times, sometimes due to tracking issues in the middle of a fight. But here's how I look at it. I love the difficulty level here, and I never quite got why most games had to be created inside this proverbial box. Why is it that the opposing forces, be it humans, aliens, monsters, or gods, are always so much stronger? The boss character, always some scary, overpowered badass, while my character has to be relegated to being some underpowered, always leveling up bitch ass. I never got this. Well, I suppose it's a part of this thing called mass formation. We're basically programmed, hypnotized into accepting things, whether it's good or not. We just conform and accept what we're given gradually over a period of time as a norm. I'm always glad to see devs step outside these imaginary boundaries. In Tempestfall, after you've powered up all your weapons to max level, which doesn't take long, you'll feel overpowered real quick. Overpowered to the point that pretty much every enemy in the game feels like nothing more than a nuisance. Even the final boss will be a cakewalk, but I like this. I like it a lot. Your character is supposed to be some kind of immortal. I see no problem with him acting accordingly.
Sigmar, grant me strength.
The real challenge of Tempestfall is clearly not intended to be the combat. There's lots of exploring to be done, things to discover and uncover, and even some really light but highly appreciated puzzles to figure out. And again, I see no reason why my character must always be at the bottom of the food chain. There'll be a lot of climbing, be it ladders, ropes, ledges, and the like. We have the option to take shortcuts to skip them completely, but why the hell would I want to do that? It's a part of the immersion. If I wanted them off, I'd go play a regular flat game. So I turned the option to skip off in settings and proceeded to do it the hard way, the way it was intended.
You honor Sigmar with your resilience.
Tempestfall has many comfort options for those of you with weak VR legs, but I found that I'm apparently a VR black belt, as I had all the comfort settings off and never once experienced motion sickness, even during times where the frame rate was less than desirable. Another problem with combat in Tempestfall is the lack of rewards, and this is why I say light RPG elements, because although you can upgrade your weapon's abilities, that's about it. The Night Haunt come at you really often here, and no matter how many you destroy, you have nothing to show for it. You gain nothing but practice for taking these fiends out, and that is unfortunate. However, you can use an anvil in your base camp to upgrade your weapons. This is another cool and immersive component. You lay your weapon down and strike it repeatedly with a hammer to unlock new upgrades. You're able to upgrade through scrolls and ores you find along your journey. Only thing is, even after I maxed out all my weapons, I kept finding more. This made me think for a second there was something I was missing out on. But even if I was incredibly powerful with what I had, so it mattered very little. There are also these spirit flasks you can fill with the souls of the dead and use as magic grenades, and while I used them a few times, I ended up steering clear, as throwing in VR is a weak point of mine. That, coupled with the weapon selection system, which although it worked more times than it failed, would get a bit tedious in the middle of a fight. Tempestfall allows you the flexibility to play according to your preferred style. So, should you want to use melee, as unrefined as it is, it does work and can be applied successfully. Should you prefer to use magic, but only specific spells, you have 3 weapons to choose from, all with their own strengths. Use what works best for you, and if you'd like to mix it up, melee, magic, grenades, you can. So I found the 2 staffs coupled with occasional melee to do the trick for me, and I was able to use them efficiently throughout. The gesture-based spells can be a bit of a pain, as they don't always work as intended, but I found with practice they became easier. Never 100, but much easier. Quick tip, when doing any of these motions, don't try too hard. You may feel compelled to thrust hard based on the fact that you're in a battle with the undead, but smooth and easy yields the best results.
Look who the storm wind has blown in. I'd be glad to have your insight on the matter, Lord Arcanum.
Before creating this review, I watched others, heard the complaints, and while valid complaints addressing glitches, which I stumble upon quite a few, iffy motion controls, repetitive fights with 0 rewards, and even the limited enemy variety, all these issues and complaints are justified, but none were bad enough for me to give this game a thumbs down. Warhammer Age of Sigmar Tempestfall is one of the best VR games I've played, period, flaws and all, and tops many flat games as well, with its attention to detail and high level of immersion. Yes, many of the flaws were immersion breaking, but nothing I was unwilling to live with, even when I got stuck in parts of the environment. You see, I'm certain with a few patches, or at least one huge one, all the issues could and probably will be sorted out.
I understand.
It was with great pleasure that I played this fine title all the way to the end. And while the ending was lackluster, it was made up for with an overall unforgettable experience that has me here waiting for the next Warhammer VR release. I've even developed curiosity for past Warhammer games. However, I suspect they'll be less up my alley with the absence of VR, but I do still play flat games, so who knows?
Just as I thought.
My verdict, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Tempestfall is an incredible game that has a few bugs to iron out, but incredible nonetheless. Give it a shot if you're interested in engaging single-player VR campaigns, if you have an interest in Warhammer, or if you're simply looking for something new to add to the collection for the holidays. Thanks for watching. If you like my content, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If I found a way to piss you off with this one, then hey, we all know where to find the various hate buttons, don't we? Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.
Well said.